pleasure to join you this morning.
Ditto.
Corporate leaders, all. Let's have a little discussion here. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Draw from your experience as leaders and tell me what leadership characteristics resonate best with you. Joe, why don't you go first?
I like leaders that get their hands dirty, and I've gotten the best results from getting my hands dirty with the folks. Not doing everything. Of course, you got to be out and up, but you also have to be down and in. You have to get out from behind your desk. You got to walk the warehouse floor. I've always been in operations after I retired from the military, and so that's what I think is the main thing for me.
Adam?
There's a lot, but one thing that I always appreciated is clarity from my leader in everything, without any ambiguity. So not looking for a lot of subjective praise, but very objective. This is doing the task we discussed, or this is not doing it. Clarity in what your responsibilities are. And I think the best leaders over-communicate. Meaning, you're pretty sure you've done it right, but they tell you. You don't have to be overbearing about it. But as a leader, you start to forget how important that is to the people that are working for you. Just some very simple feedback. So in short, clarity and over-communication.
Expectations, defining those, making sure you know when you've achieved those.
Exactly.
Okay. Jennifer?
I think there's a few things. Number one, I've always felt as leaders, I would never ask someone to do something that I wouldn't do. Like I would never just say, if we're going to clean the toilet, we're going to do it together. I think we as leaders have to show that we're going to get dirty. Like Joe just said, you're going to walk the warehouse floor. I want to know. I want to discover what we can do together, but I have to do it from the ground up. I'm not going to sit behind a desk all day like you just said, Adam. So you got to kind of get out there. And also, I think the key is to listening, because you can also, the quiet from around you is also very powerful. So what are people saying without saying anything at all? So I think the listening of the people around you, of what they're resonating through their words or their silence, is really also important. So it's also practice. Listening is definitely a practice. So I've been told about AHA. It's accountability, humility, and approachability. So someone I know very dear taught that to me years ago. So it always resonates with me that are we approachable? Are we humble? And are we accountable? And there's all these different things you can really kind of draw from to be better leaders, I really believe.
Brian? What do you think?
I think like Adam said, there's so many things you could talk about, and Jennifer mentioned humility. So I think two key things. One is humility. As a leader, recognizing, at least in my opinion, that being put in a position as a leader is a gift. I view it as like a sacred responsibility. Some people view it as like, well, I've been promoted, or I'm, got this new title or this new position. But I think, being accountable for people and delivering results is something that should not be taken lightly. So I think, and also one of the things I appreciate about everyone at this table and everyone on the Victory Strategies team, I think one of the core strains of DNA of our organization is humility, and everyone really resonates with the concept of servant leadership. The second thing I think is really important is what I call walking your talk. Whether it's cultural values or humility or being able to do whatever you're asking others to do, do you walk that out on a daily basis? Do people see you acting, speaking, treating people the same day in, day out? Are you congruent at home as you are in business? So for me, those are two key things: humility and walking your talk.
So authenticity, really.
Authenticity.
Integrity to who you are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect.
What about you?
Those two probably. I think accountability, approachability probably resonates the most with me. I think back on my experience, the leaders I enjoyed the most, I learned from. I often tell the story about being a rather junior member of the team. And actually the president of our division we were doing a review, and he turned to me, a rather junior member of the team, like I said, "What do you think?" And I thought to myself, well, number one, wow, right? And number two, after I probably stammered through some kind of hopefully useful response, I thought to myself, if I ever get to a position where I could, have that mantle of leadership, I want to remember this moment. And to be able to appreciate and seek out, pull out, because I think we all recognize that we're the best team we can be when we draw out everything from everybody that's around us, right? It's just not us. It's the team. So the team dynamic and having the humility and also, quite frankly, the confidence to seek out disparate opinions around the table. Hugely influential moment with me.
It seems like whoever that person was, they knew what they were doing. Asking you as a junior person, because clearly it's paid off.
Jeff, just to piggyback on that point, because listening to Jennifer say what she did, it resonated with me. It's kind of like you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And you talked about listening. And Jeff, your experience of having that senior leader ask you the question, I think great leaders are really thoughtful about asking good questions and asking questions in that case, in that example. It does so much. They learn so much. It shows that they care. It hits on Brian's point about being a servant leader, right? Tell me, how is this going for you? Is there something we can do to better enable you, help you do better in your job? So, great point on those.
We've all been exposed to great leaders in our careers. I have a little bit of a metaphor. I call it the leadership mosaic. We're all uniquely us. Brian, this is the authentic piece you talked about. Yeah. But we take a snippet from those great leaders that we've been around that have influenced us, like the one I shared the example about. I think that adds to a leadership mosaic that, is a little bit of that, but uniquely us, to our own style and to our own abilities.
There's some not so good ones in that mosaic.
Exactly right. Yeah, there's some pieces you take out and replace, probably, right, in that mosaic. Tell me about the best leaders, or it doesn't have to be by name. What did you take away from it? Jennifer, who's had, what a leader that's had a great influence on you, and what you took away from that experience?
I think you talk about humility. I've met so many great leaders that I've looked up to them and just thought, wow, these are really impactful, really respected people in any industry that I'm really interested in. But just to have them treat you like, when talked about you, like, what do you think? So, and a leader that I really admire, that's in a space that I'm so humbled to be in the presence of. They're very humble and they're very down to earth. So I'm always very impressed by humble leaders that are wanting to continuously learn from others that are in a different place, in different space. So I think that's always really interesting to me and always very humbling, definitely.
Brian, any thoughts on it?
Yeah, even though my last 25 years I've been in healthcare, the leader that I remember most was actually from my time as a young lieutenant in the Marine Corps. And at the time, he was a gunnery sergeant. And if he ever happens to be listening to this, I hope he realizes the influence and impact he had on me as a young first lieutenant. His name was Jorge Sosa. And at the time, again, he was our company gunnery sergeant. And in my opinion, he absolutely epitomized every single one of the Marine Corps leadership traits, including those cascade to the civilian sector. But how he led directly as a senior non-commissioned officer, or in civilian context as like a supervisor or director, was just impeccable and flawless. And he had the respect of every single person in our unit because I believe he epitomized walking the talk as a leader in every dimension, every aspect I could think of. He still impacts my decisions and my actions as a leader from what I learned from him 25 plus years ago. So,
Joe?
Man, equal parts compassion and accountability.
Wow.
Understanding the bottom line, whether that's in the military and making readiness, making better people through training and better maintenance of equipment for its use when it's needed. And on the corporate side, understanding leaders who understand the bottom line P&Ls, and they're responsible for people's mortgages and date nights and car payments and all that. You gotta make profit in corporate America. And so what KPIs are we going to use to go get that? What are we going to add? Having a 1, 3, 5 year plan. Just so many great examples out there. But I'll go back. I made the comment about the negative person in that mosaic too. You learn resiliency from them. You learn compromise from that person. You learn to be loyal from that person, supporting what they're doing if they're not doing anything illegal, and they're just sort of a bonehead that you have to support. So, you know, there's just so many great lessons out there that you could be a sponge. In order to be a great leader, you got to be a great team member. You can't be a so-so team member and then all of a sudden you get the leadership and you're gonna, oh, I'm a great leader now. Just to be that great team member to support and give and serve, man, that's a special sauce.
Joe, you said something that just resonated with me, and it's something I deeply believe in, and that's resilience. Okay, I think that's an undervalued trait, because I think success is a long-term journey, right? Anything we're trying to be excellent at, we got to also recognize there's gonna be some face plants involved. Now, we can be coached and helped and try to mitigate some of that, but experiential learning is important. We do fail, right? And resilience is part of that. Now, pardon me for asking a Navy SEAL about the importance of resilience, but Adam, I mean, what's your experience with resilience as a leader?
I think of just the personal journey of just what you said on the resilience piece of the face plant, and if you're a leader, the ability to simply account for it and not be shy about stepping right back up and being that courageous leader is very difficult. And for the people that have leaders, where I'm in the other example where you see your leader make a grand mistake, the respect that individual has from his team, where they not proud of it, but appreciate that there's an accountability and that they move on. So, and I would say, like, you talk about, hey, you're asking the Navy SEAL, but when Joe talks about the dichotomy of compassion and accountability, boy, did you hit the nail on the head. Because when you asked the question, I quickly went through a Rolodex in my mind of who are my best leaders, and it's like, I had a lot.
Yeah.
And the things that, what jumped right to the top were the painful moments in my career, both as a junior officer and then when I was much more senior, and the individuals that were my boss. One time I was a lieutenant, and what I did could have easily ended my career, and it didn't. And he thought about it, the boss, rightfully so, and I got to have that 48 hours of wondering if now I'm going to be that person that tells the story about you work this hard and you do all this and you gave it all up.
You only have one time when your career could end? Holy smokes.
I want to come back to something
But he decided to keep me around, and I thought, wow, I don't know how he does that. That's more of an art than a science, I guess.
obviously a very wise leader.
Yeah.
I want to come back to something that Brian said and build on that. I've had the good fortune to be around wonderful leaders, took an interest in me, helped me along. Others I didn't work directly for, but I try to emulate some of the great leadership aspects that they have. We talked about that leadership mosaic. My contention is the top of the pyramid, the absolute apex of leadership is the inspirational leader. You may only have one or two of these in your lifetime, okay? All of us have those, right? So two thoughts. One is, shouldn't we aspire to inspire? Shouldn't that be kind of as we grow as leaders, shouldn't that be our goal? And number two, could somebody around, a few examples, again, doesn't have to be by name, but I saw Adam deeply in reflection, and like he said, went through the mental Rolodex. He's probably got one in mind right now. Others too. Joe, you have one?
Yeah.
That comes to mind. What was inspirational?
So what's inspirational is that they were good as home as they were at work.
Wow.
Beautiful point.
And,
I love that.
And
What a terrific point.
Yeah, I mean, I start thinking about the guy right now. He's just an amazing human being, and what he did for his family, and he was present everywhere he was at. When he was home, he was present. When he was at work, he was present, and that made him efficient. And so we got a lot done, and he looked like he was doing it with ease. So that, it's
Great
a
example.
great thing. Yeah.
Great example. Jennifer, inspirational leader in your life.
There have been many. Also because I started my entrepreneurial journey when I was in my 20s, and I didn't have a lot of role models at the time that were female entrepreneurs I knew. This was quite a few years ago. So it was a different time and place. But I looked to men and women that I wanted to just emulate in life. As a young 20-something, I wanted to just find those key people that were, like you just said, George, like people that were so respected and very respectful of their family and their community. So how they act towards any human being. They're going to treat the janitor like they would a CEO. They treat, it doesn't matter what your walk of life is. You're considerate, you're kind, you're empathetic to every human that you encounter. So I think I've had quite a few, Jeff, like really great people that I've looked up to, that when I see people treat every single person with respect, no matter who they are, where they come from, those are the people I want to be around. Those are the people I want to emulate in my own life.
And it doesn't have to be somebody in business.
Exactly.
It could be somebody that's inspired us along our journey, right?
I think that's kind of touch on that for 1 second.
Please.
There's been people that that have really been down on their luck, that I've met, that a few people that I've met that are homeless, that have taught me such beautiful stories about who they are and their resilience. And those kind of people that I've met literally serving those that have lived on the streets, that are living on the street, that I'm feeding or whatever I can do, those are the great stories. Those are the great inspirational people and they are excited about every day, they are thankful, they live in gratitude, and that's where, like you just said, it doesn't have to be this amazing giant CEO. It could be these people that you find in your day-to-day that, there's a few, actually 2 in my life today, that I see almost every day.
Wow.
And I cannot wait to see them every single day, because they're the ones that give me the greatest lessons at times.
Terrific.
Jeff, if you don't mind, I'd love to add
Please.
that. As when you asked that question as she was speaking, I was thinking, like, of course, worked in lots of corporate environments, and I could talk about this CEO or this board person, but it really comes down to what you said. It's actually my wife, Erin, and I think I think about the kind of leadership she's displayed as a school teacher, as the mother of our 2 children, and even now she's a behavioral therapist that works with children with autism and does amazing things to help these kids who struggle so much, improve every single day. And I think it's, taken me time to mature as a husband and as a leader to recognize, like, the traits of leadership that my wife has that I probably underappreciated. And she's so many things that I am not. We've done as a team, our DISC assessments and talk about how we fit together. But I think when I really think about it, like how inspirational she's been as a leader, watching what she's done in our family and in our church and our community, I think that's had a bigger impact than I probably realized even before speaking about it in this moment.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good.
I think what I'm hearing from around the table is we're all also aware of our legacy. At some point in our journey, we recognize there's probably more in the rear view than the front window or the windshield, perhaps, to complete the metaphor. What is our impact going to be, and how do we continue to grow as leaders and have that positive impact so that we have that profound experience that Jennifer described? That's my challenge. That's what excites me. That's what most excites me about this team, is to be able to draw from each one of you and continue that journey to help others.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this was fun.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.